toughest strongman in history, right here.
It's not a beauty contest. This is Strongman.
Have to be alive if you can't do that thing. And away we go! Welcome to the Giants Live Strongman Podcast, and this week we have quite a treat for you. Not only do we have Darren Sadler again, but no, we have the legend, Mr. Luke Stoltman, Europe's strongest man, and three times World's Strongest Man finalist, myself, Colin Bryce, who has never been competed at World's Strongest Man. So who am I to talk about you? Luke, how are you, mate? You well?
Yeah, really good, thank you, Colin. Just had a 60th birthday party to go to this evening, so...
You don't look a day over 70, that's the thing, are you?
Yeah, fucker. Very good, very good. No, all good, mate, all good, very good. Just had some shoulder work done last week, so the shoulder's feeling really good, which is very nice. It's been an ongoing issue since 2 World's Strongest Mans ago, actually. So
have they found what the problem was then, Luke?
Yeah, so I was panicking, thinking it was going to be a tear in my shoulder. There was some structural damage, but it was just severe inflammation in and around the joint. So that was restricting me, I had no mobility behind my neck, and going to the toilet, doing number 2, wasn't the best. So we saved in toilet paper because I just used to go for a shower after, which was interesting. So now I can go to the toilet in peace, and it just so nice not to have no pain in it anymore. So
what caused it? Do you have any idea? What brought it on?
I think just being the strongest log pressure in the world, probably. But I mean, that's just what happens.
And what have they done to alleviate that then, Luke?
They put in some cortisol. 2 or 3 injections in it, and cortisol injections in it. So that was the first step, and so it was down in Harley Street Hospital. Mr. Surek looked after me there. I think it was the same guy that did Eddie's bicep.
Oh, yeah, he did Larry and Eddie's. Yeah.
Really good guy. Yeah, really nice. So he said, leave it like that for a couple of months, see how that goes, and then the next step would be PRP. So I'm just really happy. I thought, not being a young whippersnapper anymore, it might be some structural damage, but I'm so happy. Honestly, like the last week since I've had it done, it's night and day in the gym, like absolutely insane. So
I think when you've competed for a few years, you sort of assume when you get a scan that it's going to be bad news.
Very much so, yeah.
How many have you not had lots of cortisones before? Have you never had the joy of cortisone before?
No, never. So I am now an addict. I've asked for a drip alongside my bed.
Don't go too crazy, because I think it's I think you can just about push it to every 9 months with the doctor's supervision, obviously.
Right. Okay.
But when we were bobsleighing, they to keep you running on hard ice, they would bang them into you left, right, and centre.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I've had about 15, 20. Yeah, it's magical, aren't they?
Of course.
Now I can't. That's the problem. You've got to be really careful. They break everything down. That's the thing, and the pain.
Right. Okay. Well,
don't go too hard too soon.
No. Just that was the first one. So not too bad. And 10, 11 years of competing, I suppose it's been pretty okay. It's been okay. So yeah. So just.
Is that all it is now? Hang on a second. Let's start with let's have a wee look at your career here. 10, 11 years. It's more than that, though, isn't it? When was the first big contest you did?
I think 2013 Gateshead, was it?
Yeah.
Is that the first one, really? Wow.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, just a young lad. I wasn't even that young back then, to be honest. I think it was Tom's age. So that's an annoying thing. But I think I did Scotland's Strongest Man 2012 maybe, and then it was Gateshead Giants Live 2013. So
how many years did you do that? How many years before you had to stop?
I started in 1998, and my last competition was 2016.
So you actually pulled out 20 years?
Just about, yeah.
Almost 18 years. Oh, so look, you're a bit like Felix. Maybe you've got quite a few.
I got plenty of time, Colin. Don't worry. You can have me around as long as you want me.
You were bodybuilding, of course, weren't you?
Bodybuilding to start off with, yes. I was doing the vanity stuff. I was more for vanity. I enjoyed ripping the shirt off when I was younger, showing off the six-pack. I still enjoy ripping the shirt off, but the six-pack's no longer there, unfortunately. So, but bodybuilding was my thing when I was younger. I really enjoyed that. It was just a bit of fun, wasn't it? It was just good. And then some mad reason got into strongman.
Amazing, isn't it? Amazing. Then your brother followed on, and now your third brother's getting poisoned and ruined by it as well, right? How was he doing anyway? Is it Charlie, his name, right?
Harry.
Harry.
He looks like a Charlie, though. He could be a Charlie. He's really good, actually. It's really nice. So Harry's doing all the merchandise, so he's the merchandise manager. And we've got a shop now in the high street, so he runs that as well. His training wise, he's going strength to strength. He's getting really good.
How old's he then, Luke?
He's 27 on Friday.
He's still young then.
He's still young, yeah. So he's just kind of gradually getting into it. So hopefully next year he's looking to do his first competition. We're not putting any undue pressure on him, because obviously it's quite big shoes to fill, so we don't want to.
Literally and metaphorically.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So just want him to be ready for it, and hopefully, with what we've done and had that kind of path laid for him, he can kind of, follow it and kind of start to make his own path going forward. But it's certainly very much there for him to utilise as much as he wants. So I'm
do
really
you see
excited.
A lot of potential in him, where he is now? Obviously, what's credible lifts-wise.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, his event stuff's really good. I think that's what kind of shocked me the most. His stones are very... he's getting good very quickly. He's up to around lifting a 180 kilo stone now. His static lifts are coming up. I'm not sure what he's up to deadlifting-wise. But he's still relatively new into, it's maybe a year in training. So he's not pushing things. He's not, pushing everything yet. So... but he's just doing it nice and steadily, getting into that routine, that consistency, allowing the diet, the new diet. He's eating an awful lot of food now, which takes a lot of time to get used to. So his body's adapting to that. He's up to about 135 kilos now, 135. So he's starting to fill out now, which is good. He's 6'5". He's a big fucker. Wow. Yeah, I'm the runt of the family, which is very frustrating. But yeah, I just want him. I'd love for us to be able to, all three of us, compete at Giants live show. Imagine Glasgow, three Scottish brothers competing at Giants live Glasgow. It would be like, I'd be crying the whole time. It'd be really emotional.
You cry all the time anyway. What are you talking about?
I do, especially when I get bullied by certain people.
Oh. Is that me or is that?
No, not you, Colin. No,
I'm so used to taking crap these days. I take any insult. I'll take.
You're anything. You're never a bully, Colin. You've never been a bully.
Did you enjoy Glasgow then? Because obviously you came to watch, which must have been a bit weird for you watching, was it?
Yeah, it was. It was amazing to be able to spend more time, doing meeting the crowd and everyone. It was incredible, man. It was we went up. I don't know if you know, but we went up. We were wanting to go up to the top tier and go out and run around and say hi to everyone. But the security, it wasn't insured for us to do that, so it wasn't allowed. So we got the escalator up to the next level. And as Tom and I came off, the crowd just swarmed, and it was just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. I was like, for fuck's sake! I was getting a bit. It was getting a bit mad, really mental, but just unbelievable. The boys put on a huge show. It was an incredible lineup. The events I thought were awesome. The nickel stones are so cool. Having that amount of world records in one night was absolutely
madness.
Insane! Absolutely insane. It was insane.
I mean, I've got to give it to you guys. Whenever you come to a show, whether you're competing or not, you always get into the crowd physically. You know what I mean? which is really cool. That a lot of people shy away from that, but you guys really, give them what they want. So we appreciated that as well.
Of course. No, of course, mate. No,
we would have preferred if you'd come and compete, but clearly our hold on you wasn't strong enough.
The money has to double. No, it was, but I just enjoy, because we've said it, we're from quite a small town up in Scotland, so when we go down to these shows, there's 10,000 people almost there, and it's double the amount of people in our town. So I think it's class, man, when people, for some reason, they want to get photos and they, line up and all the rest of it. I think that's...
Is there a sign going into Invergordon now, or is that still being talked about?
No, there is. Yeah, there is. There's 3 signs. There's 3 entrances into Invergordon. So every entrance, there's a...
Big city, then.
Big city.
At every entrance, sorry.
At every entrance, there's hundreds. But so there's 3 entrances into our massive city.
And the sign says?
Hometown of the Stoltman brothers.
Nice.
It's world's strongest man, Britain's strongest man, Europe's strongest man.
And did the council catch you when you were putting them in?
I'm still waiting on the fine coming through.
Oh, you're starting the concrete deep, right?
Oh God! Can you imagine? Just with a hammer, just hammering it in.
Can you imagine?
Tom, they're coming.
Shame.
But on a serious note, it's really nice of the town to do that for us. We do appreciate it. It's very very surreal to see a sign.
Honor, isn't it? It means a lot to have yourself on some good ratings in America and whatnot, but it means a whole lot more to see your name in writing from your, not just your peers or anything, but your actual hometown. It's really an honour and a half, isn't it?
It's very, very surreal sometimes, when we're driving past it and you see people getting photos taken with it and stuff like that. It's wild. It's honestly, like today we were shifting. We've got a new warehouse, so we're moving all our strongman stuff into this really cool warehouse, so we can do everything there, which is amazing. But just as we were moving, an American couple came up to us. They just turned up in our town of Invergordon to come and see the gym, and like, oh my God, we didn't expect y'all to be here. Excuse the horrible American accent.
And did they take a look at you with the beard, maybe a few more pounds extra from too many pies? Have you seen Luke Stoltman?
I thought Luke Stoltman. Yeah, are you his uncle?
And the white beard coming through there.
Yeah, it's coming. Just lazy. Just I said to myself, I'll shave when I deserve to shave. When I start training, getting back to 100%. We're getting there. It's getting there, but still a couple of months away from getting up to that.
Has Tom been to Disneyland yet? Disney World even?
No, not yet. No, he's
going soon, isn't he?
We were speaking about it just at the party. End of November, start of December. I think he's doing 2 weeks. 2 weeks in.
That's amazing.
Disney World, Florida, Disneyland, Florida. He's staying in the Disney hotels, and he loves it. Him and Sinead, they're just Disney obsessed. Tom's actually got a Peter Pan tattoo on his calf. The boy that never grew up, and I guess that's pretty much Tom. So yeah, fair play.
Is he not going to get mobbed when he's there? Do you have to warn Disney or something? We're not mobbed, but it's kind of a funny one, isn't it? You might get the extra speedy pass if he does,
Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I'll leave that up to him. I mean,
sure.
It's maybe he does. Maybe I'll have to. I don't know. But he said he's going to. I think it's a concert tomorrow night, a music concert, something up in Inverness, and he messaged them, and they gave him like a VIP, balcony place, because it gets a bit crazy for him when he goes to venues and stuff, because everyone's just swarming on him, and which is cool as well, of course. But I think with strongmen, it's like everyone's you're very attainable. It's like everyone wants to stop and talk, and like he'll miss the concert. That's the thing. It's like, so he's got he's told me.
It's not a bad downside, is it?
Geez, it's just amazing.
Sporting fame. Not really.
So with your rest that you guys have been having, have you been enjoying the rest, or are you eager to get going? How's your head at with it all?
I can't wait to get back, man. Glasgow's tough. It's like I just love competing. That's why I train. I train because I love competing. So for me, not competing at the moment, it gets to me. It gets to me. So that's why we're so trying to be so busy at the moment. And the business side, the appearances, we're doing a lot more talks with companies and stuff now, which is cool. Trying to grow the social media side. So we're really busy at the moment trying to do that. So we're just immersing ourselves in that. But now we're taking a step back from that. So our calendar on the wall, September, October, was just mobbed. November's a little bit quieter, so now we're steadily getting back into decent training. First event session on Friday, which is really exciting. So just I've enjoyed it, but it's been really surreal because we haven't had that break in 8 years probably now, 7-8 years. It's been very consistent. But ready for next year to get back into it. Just have to.
I think it would do your body's good because you guys have done a lot of shows in the last few years, and I think some people don't take the time to rest. I know Big Z, we're going about longevity. He always took quite a long time off, and came back stronger every time, So I think it's quite a sensible thing to do.
Hopefully, mate. Yeah, that's the kind of thinking. Tom and I had a chat, and I think now with Tom and myself, it's very. If Tom maybe doesn't do something, then I won't do something, and vice versa. I think we're very much connected, and that goes with anything, any appearances, any business aspects, or we're a team. We're both there together, and not to say if Tom wanted to do something I didn't, I wouldn't ever stop him. But I think it just works better when we're both together. So I think taking that time off, I think for Tom and I was a necessity, and just to be able to spend some time at home for a little while, and spend time with Cushy and Sinead and the family, and it was just nice. It was really nice to have that kind of, it's like when it's competing, when it's comp season, you're just constantly just switched on and eating every 2 hours, training, recovery. It's just boom, 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 every minute of the day. Or for me anyway, I spend just thinking about it and trying to get better and trying to improve. So to
when was the gamble? I sort of remember calling you up one day for a blether, and you were driving a van suddenly. I was like, oh, you thought what you were doing. You were no longer an oil rig worker, a roughneck. You were giving it up, and you found a job driving a van, and it was a kind of part-time training, part-time results, full-time training, full-time results, and I think you were sitting on the side of the road, probably not driving like you were meant to be eating food. But you were. It was a part of the whole growth. When did that? When was it? It wasn't that long ago, was it?
No,
the difference it made was extraordinary. You really went for it.
Yeah, it was 2020. So I think it was just before the pandemic. Actually, it was just. I think I finished the last contract in the oil and gas industry. It was probably February time. I said to Cushy a few months before that, saying, "Not going offshore again. That's where I'm done. I can't do it anymore. It was just I had enough of it."
You'd never make it. You knew you'd never make it if you didn't.
Exactly. Right? Yeah, for sure. Actually, Colin, you said it to me. I said it a few times. In the Philippines, World's Strongest Man, got put out. It was in the Stone Off where Robert Oberst, Big Robert, beat me at the Stones. And then afterwards, you actually said to me, "Big man, part-time training equals part-time results. Full-time training, full-time results," and that's something genuinely had really stuck with me. So then, from that point,
definitely got the results after that.
Incredible. I mean, it's night and day. I think so. It's pretty phenomenal. Taking that leap. From being offshore was a well-paid job. It was a bit of security. The bills were all paid, and we had money to spare, and it was all good. then to go full time, thought, oh, we'll sell a spicy t-shirt. That's a good idea. And then the pandemic hit. We opened a gym, and the gym had to close. And it was like, oh, right, okay, what do we do then? We employed Simon, the videographer. I was paying him out of my own personal money for the first little while, until the business started, picking up, and here we are today. I think the titles that Tom and I have won kind of speak for itself for the last couple of years. And
it's not even 2023 yet. I mean, it's if
crazy.
you listen to this podcast in 6 months' time, it's still 2022. I mean, it's been extraordinary. The rise and rise and rise of the Stoltman brothers, the Stoltmen. It's been outrageous. Actually, I didn't realise it was that recent, and that's
yeah. I still got the boiler suit. So for the documentary, we're filming obviously for the documentary and stuff, but we had to do a wee pick-up scene. Jordan asked me to do a scene with it. Yeah. So I had to put the boiler suit back on for the first time in a while, and it was a little bit snug. It was a little bit tight around the stomach, and so.
I bet it's not as bad as what I put on my lycra from the Olympics in 2000.
Oh Jesus!
I feel a bit sick of it.
That's what I was expecting you to be dressed like tonight, actually, or hoping you were going to be like that.
Wait.
So what's your plans when you come back then, Luke? What you got planned for next year?
So for next year, Arnold Classic. That's a big one for me. Just have to wait to see the events and stuff. Obviously, World's Strongest Man. That's my goal. Winning it. 100. That's what we've got. We've all got to be there to win it. So I think my perfect day is good enough to win it. I just need everything to be 100% right. 2 years ago, I feel, I let it literally slip away in the stones. I should have been on the podium. But yeah, it's just one of those things. It's unfortunate, but that's just the beauty of Strongman. And I want to do, so I haven't said anything really, but I'm wanting to do the log press world record next year. I'd love it if Giants Live decided to do it in Glasgow. So I think that would be one way of guaranteeing the Stoltman brothers appear at Glasgow next year if you did that.
So, we haven't announced where we're doing it yet, so we'll have to see.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
Well, I'll go over to Dubai and do it there, then that'll be fine.
Yeah.
I
don't understand the joke.
Yeah, near no, but that's my kind of my goal. I've with the shoulder feeling how good it is. I know it's still early days, so got a phone call with Rush, the physio, tomorrow about rehab stuff. So just keep the rehab up, and yeah, really got a thing for this 230 log. If it's still 230 by that time. And
have you got to leave? After your injection, have you got to leave it alone for a while? Then can you load it on with weights, or have you got to just let it settle down for a while?
I hope you can, because I was just pressing yesterday, but not heavy.
You should leave it. I think from my previous cortisone experience, 72 hours of doing nothing but walking and living, and then it should have begun. You really just want to break down all the. It tends to happen in areas where you don't have good blood supply, and that's why it's like your tendons and whatnot. And then once that's done its work, you can pretty much kick back in to reasonable, maybe not max. You do run the risk of things chewing away and popping.
Of course.
But after a week or so, it's meant to be put you straight back out there.
Yeah. That's fine. Yeah, no, it's been a little while, or it's been well over a week now. So I just had a light pressing session last night. So I finished 7th at World's Strongest Man for the last 3 years. So I really want to push on. And
did you say 3 years in a row?
3 years in a row. 3 years in a row, I believe. No, sorry, 3 finals.
7th.
Yeah. So, really want to improve it.
Where do you think you are? Where are you in the world of strongman? 1 to 10? Presumably, I'm assuming you're in the 1 to 10. Do you think?
Definitely.
Do you think 7th was unfair, on representative of where you were last year or previous years?
I wouldn't say it's unfair, because that's where I finished, but I would have expected more from myself. as a strength athlete. The way I was feeling certainly last year, the first time, 2021, first year Tom won. My strength and my the way I felt as a strongman, I felt that I could have won World's Strongest Man. Just it's one of those things, I mean, probably the top 10 guys in the world could have won World's Strongest Man. That's the beauty of it at the moment, Trey Mitchell could have won it, Maxime Boudreau, Brian could have won his 5th title. It's Mitchell Hooper could have won it this year if things went different. Alexi could have won it again. Martins could have. All these different guys could have won it. But Tom's won it the last 2 years, so Tom's the best strongman in the world. It's just the way it is. So I can sit here and say I should have finished first place and I'm this strongman, but at the moment I'm 7th strongest man in the world. And for me next year, my main goal is to improve in that position and have that perfect day, have that kind of when you're in that flow state, everything's just going boom, boom, boom. It doesn't even feel like you're there. It's just, and then you're like, whoa, how did that happen? And then you're on top of the podium. That's, that's how I want to be. That's how it felt at Europe's Strongest Man when I won it last year. It was that kind of, just that perfect, everything just aligned. Everything was just very meant to be. Yeah.
I saw something. Did you want Mitchell Hooper's doing some? He's an interesting fellow, isn't he? I mean, he's quite a special character. There's no doubt about it. I was watching some of his podcast the other day. He was chatting with Martin Lissus, and that's a fascinating duo to be chatting actually. And he was talking about how he was awfully pleased to have hit a zone where he feels he can do strategy. So maybe he doesn't have to go as hard in this event, and to win. Which was quite a concept, really, because I only really thought strategy came into the World's Strongest Man heat, and everywhere else you kind of just go absolute balls to the wall.
Mitchell used strategy in Glasgow on the deadlift. He pulled 7 reps and stopped to guarantee 3rd place. And he still won by a good bit. And obviously you've got a lot of new guys, haven't you? You've got Mitchell, you've got Pavlo. Even Cordiaca coming through, that are going to do some damage at World's Strongest Man. There's no doubt about it. So it's going to be interesting next year, I think, to see how those guys mix it up, because the guys that have been there for years, like yourself, Tom, Brian Shaw, Alexi, are still on fire as well. You've got these new guys knocking on the door. Be interesting to see where they end up.
Oh, for sure. I think it's really exciting. I'm a fan. That's why I do Strongman, because I love watching Strongman. So like coming to Glasgow Giants Live, loved watching that. It was incredible. My voice had gone by the end of the show. I couldn't speak because I was shouting for all the guys. Having 2 Scotsmen compete there was amazing. Lewis Jack, Andy Black was absolutely amazing to see them. And the reception they got was incredible. And then, like this weekend,
the reception you guys got was off the scale, though.
Yeah, I mean, it was okay. It was fine.
It was a homecoming, wasn't it?
We pay them with merchandise to like shout this once.
I've got to say, the Scottish fans are very, they're just in a good way. They're so loud when anyone comes out, and they got behind the Scots, but. It's like when Mark Felix walked out. They love Mark Felix. They just went absolutely mad,
Yeah,
so cool.
It's good. The Scots know how to cheer everyone on, and I think that's the amazing thing. And when you take a step back and you see everyone just passionate and just loving every minute of the show, and the guys are competing, and I think that's when you've got something really special. And I think, having it up in Glasgow, I think that really was a special occasion. It was so, and thank you guys as well, for allowing us to be there. It's a huge privilege for Tom and I to be there. It's not something that we take for granted, so it's a real highlight for us to have it in Scotland. It's so, I get so proud that we can have it in Scotland and have it on a huge scale like that. It's amazing.
Well, I mean, it's a 2-way street. We appreciate you guys just as much as you appreciate us, and the beauty about the sport is, the respect you all give to each other and to us. I know. We've had these conspiracy theories saying that all this stuff, underhand stuff, goes on, but you guys that are all involved in it know we're all like one big family, and everything doesn't work without us all coming together at the right time.
Hang on, Daz. Can you, let me just record this. Oh no, we are recording anyway.
Oh, let's not go there.
Sorry. Come on, man.
You two are desperate to talk about that.
I'm not at all. No, I like to joke.
No,
I like to joke.
It's just funny. No, it is very.
No,
much
I think there was a bit of bad light shone on that situation, maybe a couple of situations, but the reality of it is, all of us lot involved, athletes included, are all striving for this sport to get bigger, and it's working. And I think, I don't want to start putting people down, but some people's idea of making things, their side of things, grow is just to diss other people, and you know that we've never done that, and we know you've never done that. You guys turn up and do your best. We put on the best show we can, and I think that's the way to do it, rather than trying to disrespect other people.
I think one of the great new influence in the promotion world of strongman, you have to take your hat off to him, is Brian Shaw. I mean, Brian Shaw is doing it. He's doing it right. He's doing everything he can, and he's doing it with heart and passion. And I think, from our side, we have to applaud him enormously. He's even checked in with us on dates and told us dates, so we don't try not to hit each other. How different that is in other parts of the world. But yes, I mean, I think strongman's in a great position right now. I really do. And actually, you and your brother have played a pivotal part in making it so popular, because there's many, as Daz was just saying, many great new guys coming through. There's one other guy who's coming through again, who I saw last night, sent me some videos on Facebook Messenger. Mateusz Kieliszkowski is looking really strong again.
Oh, brilliant.
Have you seen him?
Brilliant. I saw a few things, but obviously...
Snatched 175 log, mate, like it was nothing for 2
Wow.
or 3. So his shoulder's okay.
What's a bit sad is he's made a couple of sort of runs at coming back and not quite made it, and I think, damn, he's putting in so much effort and not quite made it. But I mean, if you look back over the last, I don't know, not quite 10 years, but there's been a few pivotal people in making it grow. And I'm not talking about promoters. There's been some promoters come and gone. There's some promoters that are here to stay. But I think some of the athletes that have made a big difference, it's quite simple, is Eddie, and I'm not being disrespectful to any other athletes, Hapthor. As much as Eddie and Hapthor didn't get on, those guys did a lot for all of us. Let's be honest about it. And I see you and Tom sort of almost stepping in their shoes a little bit and helping things grow for us as promoters and yourselves as strongmen, And you get people like Mitchell Hooper coming through, who's obviously very eloquent as well, and people love listening to him. He speaks a lot of sense, and when the whistle blows, he can also do the business.
No, for sure. No, it's class to see Mitchell just popping out of the. That's what Joe was saying. I mean, he must have been grown in a laboratory or somewhere. He was a robot. Just
Where's he come from?
It's amazing.
He wasn't even meant to be at World's Strongest Man last year. He wasn't even. He was reserve.
The group of death only became a group of death because of him. But he was the reserves. It was like multiple, and there's so many people kept dropping out. In the end, I can remember it was Christian from IMG. We got another dropout. You're going to put this guy Hooper in then?
Well, all we'd had sent, just so you know, is we just had videos sent of him doing stuff, which people send videos, don't they? You know what I mean? And you go, whatever, we'll believe it when we see it. So when he came, we didn't know what he was going to be like, and then obviously you were there when he started competing, and everyone was like, actually, this guy's the real deal,
Yeah. I was, when I saw the groups and I wasn't in Mitchell's group, I was delighted because I'd watched some of his videos and I was like, this guy's mad. Like, he's running with a 500 kilo yoke, deadlifting incredible numbers, overhead's really strong, like really strong guy. And I knew he was going to be really good. And it was nice because he had that kind of almost carefree attitude. He was just here and just enjoyed it at Worlds. It was like nothing to lose almost for him. And for him to make the final in his first attempt, I think it's amazing. And then the success he's had after.
He's
I
not
mean,
bristling with muscles. I mean, he's not like you look at him and go, God, that's the world's strongest man. And when Marius turned up, he made an impact, Marius, in his first year. Wow.
Have you noticed that Mitch messes about before he goes out and he messes about afterwards? It's like he's having a real good time. Everyone's quite serious, and I think we all are. And I know I certainly was. Whereas he's just like having a bit of a laugh out there, and it works for him. I think we're all different, but it works for him.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I think that's the beauty of it. It's just whatever works for you, and he's found that thing that obviously works for him, and I think that's awesome. He needs to, if he goes out for a couple of beers a night before World's Strongest Man, hat off to him. I mean, it's not for me. I'll have a few beers after with him, but that's the thing. It's like you say, it's everyone's different. Everyone's got their way of coping and dealing with things, and obviously there's, no matter what anyone says, I think there's always that adrenaline going the day before you compete, and it's anxious. Everyone's it's tingling.
Here's a weird question for you. Did you ever feel like, because you did almost too many years of part-time training, part-time results, and you got part-time results, I mean, imagine Daz here probably kicked your butt a few times before he retired, and the latter end of his career, and you how many podiums were you getting? Not many, except Scotland's Strongest, where you were the big man there for sure. And then suddenly, do you ever suddenly sit and get kind of slightly anxious, like, geez, you're not good enough, Luke. You had almost too many years of not coming through and kicking butt. Now, actually, you almost, someone like Mitchell just has so much belief. But, and just wondering psychologically whether that's something you have to deal with. Kind of, come on, Luke, you can do this. You are as good as these guys.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like now, I feel I can beat anyone in the world. That's my confidence level. I think, Mitchell's a young gentleman as well, so he's got the confidence of youth as well on his side, which is nice to have. But I think my confidence is very high, but maybe I'm not as. I don't maybe talk about it as much now. I'm quite happy and quite content, and letting my performances do the best I can do. So I mean, even this year finishing on the podium at Arnold's, I was the first British guy to finish on the podium since Glenn Ross. So
I guess if you stuck with it this long, you must have known this was in you. You must have known it was in you.
I think the changing point for me was talking to the psychologist, and that mindset, that it was just a complete switch. It was. You remember when I first started, I used to go for a spray tan before I came down, playing to the crowd, and just whatever, and that's fine. That was my. I felt I probably needed to be like that, and then with everything that was going on, the psychology just really switched that, and it was I think it was just the right time at the right place, because everything just combined it, and the full time came, then the psychology and the mindset changed. And then it allowed me to really push on and be that full-time athlete, be that professional athlete. Because before I wasn't that professional athlete. I was still very much that, like you say, that part-time athlete. And I was quite happy getting top 5 at Giants Live would be a really good place for me. But now, every show I want to go to, I want to win. I don't want to be that top 5. I want to be that number 1.
Do you not think, though, it's maybe just, I know we talked about what if you'd have gone professional earlier, if you like, but do you not think we all went through that as an athlete? Like, if you think about Eddie and Thor and everybody, they had a time when they were just, I mean, yeah, you came up slowly, but is that not a good thing? You know what I mean? There was something in you said, listen, I need to stop messing about here. I need all the time, but maybe you needed that slow growth. Eddie was for the first few years at World's Strongest Man, he was a truck mechanic. And all of a sudden he thought, actually, I can do this, and then he quit. Maybe we all need that, I
think so, definitely, because, for me to be able to give up my job, it was a big step. It wasn't just I'm just going to fuck it off. It's just, it is what it is. But I had 2 mortgages, I had bills to pay, a wife to support and family to support. It's not just an easy decision. But that growth, that growth kind of kept going very slowly. And then, one day I just said to Kush, I said, like, that's me done. I know I can really push on and really do something special. And And I think having those 17 years of, I think that's what I've got over a lot of people as well, is that I've had 17 years really hard work on the oil rigs. So I know what that, and same with Eddie, same with Mark Felix as well. We've had that graph, but a lot of the younger ones coming in, you're coming into it now, social media is there, do your training app, do your YouTube, podcast, merchandise, whatever it is, it's all there now. Do you know what I mean? So rather than you have to just keep working away, slugging away. And I don't think a lot of people see that aspect to it. It's like I competed in 3 or 4 or 5 World's Strongest Mans while working offshore. I came straight from the oil rig, flew straight out to Botswana a couple of times, straight out to the Philippines. And having that in the back pocket, I never want to go back to that life. I never want to go back to working off an oil rig, because that would be really bad for me mentally. What I do today, competing in Giants Live, competing World's Strongest Man, Rogue Invitational, etc., that's what I love. And I think I've just got, for me, that determination and work ethic to really push things. Certainly in Strongman, but then from a business side as well, I want to be as successful as anyone else out there, and that's what I really get excited now for.
So if you were, I imagine quite a lot of people who will be watching this will be probably doing some sport, maybe strongman, maybe weightlifting, maybe powerlifting, maybe whatever. Obviously, you're still the lady's choice, even though you're 40 kilos heavier than you once were. That was always the gag when you and your orange tan.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It's Mr. Handsome. And you kind of bulked past that one. But what advice would you give to somebody who's thinking, everybody kind of hankers the thought, maybe if you're still doing sport, maybe I can make it. Is it worth it? Is it worth it? Is it? When do you hit the go for it button? At what point do you think it's worth it? Because it's not worth it for everybody, is it? It could go terribly wrong for some people, for many people. I
think, well, from my personal experience, it was a time where I had to. So, do a lot of mental health and stuff. So my mental health at that point was pretty low, pretty down in the dumps. I was, and for me, I was looking at the future. I was like, I'm going to be 60 years old, still working offshore in the oil rig, and that made me very, very depressed. And then thinking a lot about mum, going back to what mum would want for me. So it's like, would mum want me to carry on working offshore, be fine with money, financially okay, but never actually truly be happy and be able to do what I want to do? Or would she want me to take that chance and go? And so I think for me, I had to do that. I had to take that chance. And people will know in themselves if that chance is worth it. Is Jamie from Birmingham that's doing a strongman show, his first strongman show, wanting to go full time, is it worth it for him? I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. It's not for me to say. But I think you have to be able to have a lot of time to analyse, self analysis, and look at it and think, right, well.
Do you know? We speak to a lot of people, and obviously we all know each other very well. And I know certainly this was how I felt. And the more people that I speak to, like yourself and Eddie and Tom and a lot of other people, like for me, when I realised that I could be good at strongman, I didn't realise I have anything else. Like that was the only thing that I thought I was good at, and it turned out to be a good thing. Did you feel a bit like that, where it's like, right, well, I'm on these oil rigs? Was that your only way out? And I mean, obviously, we know you had a good life before. You weren't on the bread line, but did you feel like, because I did, right, this is one way to get me a different life, because there's not too many options. If you didn't train to be a doctor or whatever at school. So if you look at a lot of the strongmen, they were sort of in that position and got thrown a bit of a lifeline.
100%, mate. Yeah, definitely. That was my only way out, was to be successful at strongman, and that was it. So that's what I had to do. I didn't have a choice, so to speak, or I did have a choice, because everyone always has a choice. You can carry on doing that, and there won't be any way out. In 10 years' time, I'll be in the pub with my mates saying, "Oh, I should have won World's Strongest Man," and I would hate myself. I detest that type of. If I became that type of person, I would have hated myself for saying that, because I had that chance and I took it, thankfully. But if I didn't take it, I grow to resent myself, and I don't want to be that person. Hopefully I'll have kids, and don't want to be that resentful father to my children. That's not something that I haven't been raised that way. My mum and dad are a lot better than that, and I deserve to show them that. And it was a tough choice. It was, but it was the only choice I was ever going to take. It was, if it was like, Tom and I sat down and talked about it. What do you think? Should we start selling spicy T-shirts? It's fucking mental, to think that people might want to buy our T-shirts.
And they're going to hotcakes now, aren't they?
I mean,
get a chance to get the plug in ahead of Black Friday.
We're very fortunate and very, very thankful. It's a team effort. That's the thing. It's not just because of Tom and I. It's because of the whole sport of strongman. We're all coming up together, and that's what we're trying to do. Very proud that we've just taken on our first sponsor in Chloe Brennan. So we're giving her a financial payment every month. So she's our first sponsored athlete, and I feel very proud that we can do that. So that's what we want to be able to do. Like you guys, you look after athletes, and you keep giving them opportunities to compete, and I think that's awesome, and that's what we'd love to be able to do. Because for me personally, I would love to be able to help Chloe, like some up and coming male athletes, more women athletes, because I think the women's side of things is really up and coming. And I remember seeing Chloe lift the Denny Stones at the Arnold Classic. That was
crazy.
Blew my mind. I was like, how is that possible? And she did it, and I was like, we've got to do something with it.
She ruined it. She ruined it for all men forevermore. Unless you're a world-class strongman and you're going to lift it. I was terrified. We actually went up to see the Dinnies recently. I was so pleased when they were chained up and we couldn't get them open because they were miscommunication.
I don't ever want to try them. I don't ever want to try them. What if we failed?
Honestly,
you can't do them.
Unbelievable. So it's just so impressive, like, to see all these great athletes coming, and that's the thing. It's like everyone's coming up together and everyone's helping grow this amazing thing that we all get to be part of, and it's so unique.
That's a wonderful thing what you just said there. And I hope it's not just because you're just a very positive person, mind. But you do hear, of course, a lot of podcasting, a lot of chatting, and a lot of people discussion online is often very negative. And I guess it's negative because people like to chuck out comments and criticisms, and actually you're an incredibly positive person. I think we've always tried to do our best to if we were to sound arrogant, win on excellence, as it were. We're going to drive forward because we only care about our own game and promotion, and that's the way it should be. And it's nice to hear you saying how I think the whole world of strongman's never been in a better place. It's just in a magnificent place to be. People have choices. It's growing and growing. And in fact, I heard even Mitchell talking about a union the other day and this and that. And it was great. I mean, it's fantastic, these thoughts. It's how different it was from 10, 20 years ago. Entirely different. And it's sometimes I think people have to realize that think positive about how we can step forward. Because
I think what a lot of people do is they look at it and they say, "Oh well, look at football or things like that. There's all that money there." Well, at the end of the day, we've got to start somewhere, and it's on the climb. And when I was competing years ago, really, it was just a person that was world's strongest man that made money. Whereas now, like you said, there's all these avenues: sell some T-shirts, sponsorship, more prize money, all these different ways, and even just social media can make money nowadays. So there's a few different avenues, and I think it will grow generically, but certainly the appetite's there for the shows, which is the main thing.
Oh, definitely. The talent is so immense now. That field of talent, and even credit. I'm not just saying it because you guys I'm on the podcast, but the way that you're starting to look after athletes now. Having like the Blood Lab on board now, looking after our kind of medicals and stuff like that, the insurance aspect and all this stuff. I think it's something that needed to happen. And now you've listened to athletes, and that's what you've done now. You've given them a professional way of getting themselves checked up and looked after themselves, and I think that's so critical, and that's only going to grow things even more. Our health is going to.
Also, I mean, the blood lab there. I mean, they do such a good job. Obviously, they test at every one of our shows, and although you might not get the results till after a show, all the guys are always in front, because I know this year we picked up 2 minor problems with athletes, just levels of iron and things like that could be problems, and now they're sorted. So having those regular blood tests, if you do 5 or 6 Giants Lives a year, you get 5 or 6 blood tests. I think it just helps the longevity of an athlete to know what's going on, and we never had that years ago. And if you did, you had to pay a lot of money for it, And for us, along with them, to be able to supply that to athletes for free is such a cool thing,
That's amazing. Yeah, it stops us having to go to our GP. Go to our GP that doesn't really know anything. They weigh us. Oh, your BMI's. Yeah, you should be dead.
Stop lifting weights.
And that's. I used to have to do that for offshore. The medicals I used to have to do for offshore. That's your BMI's sky high. You shouldn't be doing it, and then I had to explain why I did it, and then you'd have to prove that you're competing as an athlete, as a strongman, and so it's like undue stress on you because someone's like judging you straight away, and that's something that we shouldn't have to put up with. Someone's judging you straight away, saying you are morbidly obese because some scale says so. I think that's just kind of goes against a lot of things that we should.
Just so you know, the BMIs of Britain are done post Second World War, and I did my university thesis, because I'm a clever guy, on the BMIs in Britain, and I actually came up with the fact that they were very, very badly skewed towards malnutrition to post Second World War children. They're not even our BMI, and this was like back 20 years ago, maybe more, when I was at university. But even still then, we were using ancient BMIs. Yeah. So and the doctors are totally unaware of this. People
a lot of doctors don't use it anymore, though. I know I've spoken to a lot of doctors that just won't use it anymore because it's so out of kilter with, with how we live nowadays.
Yeah, of course.
With our
fat strongman friends, yeah.
Yeah, we're strong men. That's why we're so fat.
Well, I guess we'll probably best call it a day there. And when are we going to see you next competing then, do you think? What's the first show?
I need a couple more tests and stuff on the shoulder. And then the priority, all I can say the priority now is to have a baby with Cushy, and hopefully we'll have some good news soon. But yeah, 100% we'll be competing as many Giants Live shows next year as we can, because for me that's where I get the biggest buzz. Like I say, that's why I train, because I want to compete, I want to smash these shows, but also I want my body to be in top condition, and I need to ensure I'm doing everything I can to get there. And as soon as I'm back, I want to win these shows.
Having some bairns, big man. Having some bairns. There's no point in having a sign at the edge of your house if you can't take your kids there to point at it.
Of course.
That's what it's all about. Yeah. Well, you wouldn't mind that in mind. Daz, anything else to ask this man?
No, just again, can't wait to see you compete next year. Whether it's in our shows or other people's, we always love to see you guys compete. Yeah. Obviously, open invite for you guys, whatever you want to do. And looking forward to seeing you both back. And again, thanks for your support. Even though you haven't been competing, thanks for coming to the shows and seeing the fans and all that. It's been great. We appreciate it, and the fans really appreciate it. And we'll see you next year.
I think the feed's corrupting, so we're going to have to... Last week gag, eh? Big man.
Right, I'm away.
Nice to stay. Thanks very much.
Hey, guys, thanks very much. Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.